Okay, great. So I'd like to welcome you all to our third information session on careers in the construction industry, held in partnership with Lean and the CITB. We are running these sessions to promote careers within the construction industry, and today's session will be held to talk about the professional entry and degree and higher apprenticeships within construction. So on that note, I'm going to hand over to James, who is here with us from the CITB. Thank you, James.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's lovely to see so many with us today. If you've been with us during the previous sessions, we've covered a number of the kind of trade routes and information and careers information about the trades within the construction industry. Well, today we're going to be talking about the other side of construction, which sometimes gets less attention, which is the managerial or the professional side of construction. So this is where we'll be talking about occupations such as civil engineering, quantity surveying, project management, site management, and many other variations of the professional roles within the industry. Now, to help us do that in terms of finding out the different routes into this side of the industry, we're going to invite our first speaker, Mike Hurst, who is a senior civil engineering lecturer with the University of East London. Mike Hurst, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks very much for attending. I'm going to try and share a PowerPoint presentation that I've produced, which will give you a bit of an overview of what we do in higher education and also specifically what we do at University of East London. Can you see that? Okay, can you see that? Yeah, okay, good. I'm not a great Zoom fan, actually. We're not allowed to use Zoom, but we use Teams. So anyway, it's working at the moment. So that's a bonus. Okay, so for this particular presentation, I'm acting under the role of senior lecturer in civil engineering. And I'm in the engineering and construction department within the School of Architecture, Computing and Engineering. And you can see the presentation here where we are based. So if you know the DLR and Cyprus Station, we're located here. So we're local to East London and have been here since about 2000. And it's here where we deliver most of all of our construction related qualifications as part of that process. And so this is the team at the University of East London. Generally, everyone that teaches here is a member of the Chartered Institute of Building or the Institution of Civil Engineers or Institution of Civil Engineering Surveyors. And these are the main full-time staff members here, plus there are another sort of 30 that teach in the other areas, civil engineering and surveying. And here you can see me pre-COVID without the beard. So yes, it's had quite an effect on me. Okay, a little bit about the facilities that we run here at UEL. It's a modern campus. We're based in Stratford and Docklands. We've also got a fairly new £33 million University Square building around the Stratford one-way system, although our courses don't tend to be linked to that in terms of construction. We are, picture here, this is our library at Docklands. It's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week online experience, and it's open at the moment. So we've got students that are going in and doing their studying on one-to-one access to resources. We are working through this current pandemic, and we're doing dual delivery. In fact, at this very moment, I'm actually in a class. So I've got students on a breakout activity while we're doing this. So this pandemic is bringing lots of interesting flexible ways of working that's being very effective for us. As you can see, we are located on the dockside here, a very nice area. We've recently had new accommodation built to hold, at Docklands, we can have over 1,200 beds accommodating both overseas and students from the UK and Europe here. We have a very large sports centre that was partly sponsored through the Olympic 2012, where we were the US base, and they were based here for that period of time. And now we've taken over as a legacy arrangement, which is really brilliant. And we've got a state-of-the-art knowledge dock facility for all our engineering and practical services that form part of this course. Just a little bit about what we do and how we like to make sure that we do link ourselves with industry. I mean, I would say that higher education, one of the main focuses that we've always had is our links towards helping young people develop professional skills to then move on into professional areas of work. And on that slide there's a range of fairly recent activities where, again, we're helping our students develop those professional skills and professional resilience in areas there. You may spot a few that you notice here. Fortunately, for example, we recently had the former president of the CIOB and presenting a certificate to our top student, Charles Egbu. Charles, until recently, was our Pro VC at university. So we had a very strong construction focus, and we drove a lot of initiatives through as part of that. He's now moved on to Leeds University to be the Vice Chancellor at Leeds, and he did that in last September. But we had some good relationships with CIB out of that. We've also have links with local contractors as well, and we get our students involved in a lot of the professional management courses and professional management work done through the CIOB. We offer our teams into our Bright Futures Challenge, which is one of the major annual events that the CIOB run in London. And in 2019, one of our students won the top prize of the top performing student, and with work placements on the back of that. So there's a range of things that we get involved with that we pride ourselves in, and we get our students involved in. Tara here, who was a finalist for the Young Woman in Construction last year, who works for Carey's and was a part-time student with us through her 5 years of study. Anyway, more about the courses that we offer here and what we can offer to young people coming through after their A-levels or BTEC equivalents like that. And this is our basic offer undergraduate within construction that we offer in the three main areas. So under construction, engineering and architecture, these are the main courses that we generally run. Under construction, which are all CIOB accredited, we run our BSc Honours Construction Management. This has been running now for about 10 years with us. It developed out of a foundation degree that I set up in about 2010, where we had a compulsory element of work placement and students out for 6 months in industry to achieve their foundation degree. And now that's become the BSc Construction Management. New starting this last year, going into the second year this year, is our BSc Honours in Quantity Surveying and Commercial Management. A new development. There's a lot of interest in this particular course, in this particular area of work. It brings in project management, it brings in skills of managing money and managing funds and managing resources. And we've also linked that to a commercial element as well, realising that looking after our built asset is a key aspect, and bringing issues to do with facilities management as well. So those two are strong recruiters, and particularly our new course here is recruiting well for September. The entry requirements, 96 UCAS points, sort of 3 Cs type level of entry qualifications for those as part of that. In engineering, all our engineering courses are accredited by the Joint Board of Moderators, JBM, and these particular courses have various engineering institutions that link into them. One being the ICE, which we tend to work a lot with, and the Institute of Civil Engineering Surveyors. So we have 2 civil engineering related courses, the BSc, which has low entry qualifications, generally for those who haven't done A-level maths or the equivalent with only 96 UCAS points. If you have got the A-level maths or you can demonstrate high-level maths, then you will go to the BEng or slightly longer MEng course. But obviously there are higher entry qualifications for that because of the more rigorous nature. If you're interested in developing your professional career, the BEng and MEng courses lead to full chartered membership straight off. The BSc Honours, you need to get a 2-1 or a first, and then progress on to our master's technical course, which then will get you to a chartered membership. So you can get to chartered membership whatever route you go, but it takes you a little bit longer through the BSc civil engineering route. Another stalwart of our stable of courses is our BSc Honours Surveying and Mapping, very popular. We're only 2 universities in the country that offer specific undergraduate qualifications for surveying and mapping, and this is expanding greatly at the moment. The other university is Northumberland, up in Northumbria, so we're quite away from them as competition, which is good for us. And finally, one development I'm really proud of is that working in collaboration with our architectural colleagues, about 9 years ago, we developed the BSc Honours in Architectural Design Technology, which has a combination of architecture, which we've always been strong at UEL, and our construction management, and developed this course, which very much looks at the technical detailing side of architectural technology, which is becoming the forte of most developments that are happening in the capital today. So those are our main undergraduate courses here. In terms of what they are, in generally, they all offer a level 3 foundation year. So we can have students that come in, haven't quite made their grades at level 3, and they can do a foundation year with us. It's like a traditional access course. So that is offered in all of our courses here. They can do it 3 years full-time or up to between 5 and 6 years part-time. If you're doing it full-time, then it's £9,250 per year or pro rata. So whether you study full-time or part-time, you basically will pay the same amount, but over a longer period of time. So that's our full-time offer for our students as part of the particular course. I'm just going to, because I know that, David's going to be talking a little about sort of the employer side and degree apprenticeship. I just thought I'd mention that our courses that you have seen, they do map onto the degree apprenticeship program. So alongside this, we do have students that are studying, let's say, a BSc civil engineering, but they are degree apprenticeships on the civil engineering site management course. So we run here civil engineering site management between levels 5 and level 6. The students who come into that course, basically they drop into the BSc civil engineering course at levels 5 and level 6, and they achieve the academic side of the apprenticeship. Obviously, there are other sides to that. I'm not degree apprenticeship coordinator, but as program manager of the civil engineering side, we do have our students that work on the degree apprenticeships and work alongside our current full-time students. So there's a nice mix between people who are in work and people who are looking for work as well. Other degree apprenticeships that we run is a straightforward civil engineering one. This is much longer and links largely with our BEng civil engineering course. And finally, the geospatial mapping and science, which maps against our surveying and mapping BSc. Again, slightly different range of duration, all part-time, all essentially day release courses, but ranging from different funding bands, obviously where the resources are greater than generally in civil engineering, where there's more emphasis on lab work and practical surveying work, then it's a little bit higher for that. All of these funds are generally met by the employers and through various grants through the government. And I would suggest that you contact the apprenticeships to have a look at that. If you are interested, then I can always take your inquiry and I can forward it on to our employability section, which deals with our apprenticeships, and we can talk to you about that. These are some of the companies that sponsor students through apprenticeships with us, and you probably recognise a few there. some local ones there. The Canary Wharf Group, obviously, the big development at Wood Wharf happening, Lang O'Rourke linked to that as well, and a local contractors embarking, for example, Roof. Okay, how are we doing for time? Are we nearly there? I'm going to perhaps just skip over some of these points here because I don't want to talk over elements of that, but essentially we run a semesterized system where you do 2 semesters a year, term A and term B, going from September through to April with the 3rd term for assessment. We have all the resources that you'd need to cover that particular element of course, for that element of work. Just an idea of some of the things our students get up to in terms of specialist equipment, whether it's going out on site to build something practical, like this is construction area, an annual field trip, or in the labs producing something like a green roof, or measuring the percolation of water through various green roofs, surveying aspects of work, working with mapping and elements to do with Rivet and AutoCAD, and developing even drone work, although we do have a problem a little bit about doing drone work so close to the airport. So we have to do that away on field trips. And we go to places like Cirencester and Norfolk for that element of work. Just a quick list of some of the employers that link with us. We do, as well as degree apprenticeships, we have traditional day release where people self-sponsor themselves. And we have a range of different companies that dip into that as part of that. Just a little bit of view of what happens on social media in terms of getting our students out and about on site visits, doing activities that link to practical work. Site visit here, this is one to the National Gallery, where one of our ex-alumni, Sophie, organised this for us. So we've got very good links with our ex-students. We tend to feed that and they work very strongly with us, and which is really beneficial for their professional development, as well as linking into what's happening in industry. Finally, some people say, what is construction management? Just a couple of slides up there. If you're thinking about, how can I find out if youngsters want to be involved in construction management and what goes on to that.
Both space and time builds participation and understanding necessary for a successful project.
Sorry about that. And so if you want to find out a bit about what construction management, these are the sorts of questions that often youngsters want to find out about construction, why they want to choose that. So a little bit about construction management and specialist areas you can get involved in, and the elements of work. We're very fortunate being where we are in the centre of a lot of construction work, whether it's heritage work being done in London, or large developments like London City Island. We have access to that. Shard, you may recognise this one here. So getting out and getting our students involved in elements of work, both from a teaching point of view and for placements and for developing their own skills for their professional development in their early part of their graduate life is part of that. We're overseen by an industrial advisory board, chaired at the moment by Charles Johnson, who's director at Atkins, to help our students really get a good hold on industry and their work. So I've whipped through that rather quickly. Hopefully it's given you a whistle-stop tour about what we do at University of East London. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about that presentation, or about anything to do with higher education and how it might feed into what you can do for your students. Yeah.
All right, fantastic. Oh, we've got one question come up. What is the cost of a foundation year?
Well, a foundation year it depends. It generally that's linked to our full-time courses, and full-time courses are generally the same level as the normal courses that we run here, because they all get the same element of work there. You are entitled up to 4 years degree grant from the student loan company, so that would be included as part of a student's general loan for that element of work, and that currently stands at about £9,250, I believe, as part of that element. So that's the sort of ballpark figure that would be run for a foundation degree there. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Mike. And
okay.
Now moving on to David Wake, who is the apprenticeship manager for a construction company named Galldris. So David, if you could please present on degree apprenticeships.
Can you hear me, everybody? Is that all right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okie dokie. Here we go. Right. Hello there. I used to work for the CITB for 14 years, and I've now moved over to Galldris. We are a tier 1 and tier 2, mainly a tier 2 construction company. So it's very important, but we'll cover that. First and foremost, I think what we've got to do when we talk about training and apprenticeships in the industry, you as advisors and teachers need to understand the industry, the size, the scope and the range. The size, we are the second largest industry in the country. We employ more people than anybody else apart from health and social care. The scope, we are large companies, many multinationals, so there's opportunities to work across Europe and the world. But SMEs, the tier 2, tier 3s, and literally all the way down to the one-man bands play a major part in delivering training and apprenticeships in the construction sector. And it's also the range that the specialist contractors like ourselves offer, but there's so many different careers. We're not all house builders, which we seem to start getting pigeonholed with. This is just some of the pictures of what we do. We are a kind of an enabling company at the minute, but we're moving into our own developments and everything. This was the Royal Albert Dock just up the road from UEL, which was getting ready for the big buildings that are already up and running. This is Royal Wharf, Google HQ over at King's Cross, Paddington that was, and there was one more, and then Greenford Quay. So as you can see, this is the heavier side of the industry that we're now involved in. But that creates an awful lot of apprentices. So what are degree and higher level apprenticeships? Well, they're the same as traditional apprenticeships. It's exactly the same as the 80% on-site and 20% off the job training. So it's funded through the government apprenticeship levy, but all it does, it lasts 5 years rather than 2 years or 3 years. And it can be accessed via A levels or BTECs or HNCs. You need to have to normally get that level 3 qualification before obviously you can move into the level 4, 5s and 6s. So it's all there, it's the opportunity. I am a firm believer of these because my son did one and it saved me a fortune. Here is just a list of some of the ones that have been approved by the Institute of Apprenticeships. So constructions, quantity surveyor, site management, design and construction management, civil engineering site management, building services, child surveyor. Plus there's a few others covering architecture that are not linked to the Institute of Apprenticeships, but linked into organisations like RIBA, the Royal Institute of British Architects and everything else. So there's a fair amount of scope for people who are looking into these kind of career pathways. And it's a question that they understand what the job roles are. Where do you get the information about some of these job roles? I would always point people towards Go Construct, where you can go into the construction careers section next to the logo, drop that down, and it will give you literally a page about every conceivable job there is in the construction sector. So it's a really good kind of opportunity and a tool for students to be able to access information that will generate hopefully some interest and actually be aligned to what they would like to study going forward and what they would like to have a career in. Here's some of them. Obviously, we've heard from Mike at the University of East London, but the London South Bank University, Westminster University, they all offer different, this is Anglian Ruskin as well, loads of universities will offer either a large suite or a shorter suite. The London South Bank offer the biggest one, I think, maybe the Anglian Ruskin do as well, based up in Chelmsford. But their opportunities are everywhere. And obviously everyone's ability to get on these courses is linked to the individual universities. But never get away from the fact that if an employer wants you on their course, normally the university will make space for them. So it's really, these are employer-led opportunities. So they're actually where the employer will actually choose you and then send you off to a university to study. So what's the benefits? Well, the benefits to an employer like ourselves, of courses are funded via the apprenticeship levy. Companies would have to make a 5% contribution if they're not levy payers. So if you've got a course that's going to last for 5 years and cost 27 grand, you're looking at 5% of that £27,000 has got to be paid by the employer, or it comes out of the levy. So for Galldris currently, our contribution for our degree level apprenticeships runs to the, to what is it, £1,350 across each year. So it's not across all years. So it's not a massive investment, and this is where it's developing. The other benefit is that we get the opportunity to identify the individuals we want, to train and employ the apprentices that move through the business and become an integral part of the workforce. They then generate the specialist knowledge of the company that they work for. And it embeds, a certain feeling of loyalty to actually stay and actually contribute to that company's growth. So that's the benefit. To the apprentice, the benefits are clear. There's no student debt. Apprenticeships are paid from day one, so they're earning while they're learning. Plus they get the usual employment benefits of holidays, pension, etc., that are all added into this kind of package. If I go back to my own experience, my son, he started work, and as soon as he started work, instead of me having to fund him and support him through university and drinking habits and everything else that goes with being young and working for the first job, he actually had to pay me to stay at home. So it was a double whammy for myself. I started creating a separate bank account that I paid all the money into. So it's really an opportunity, and a great opportunity. And also the commitment is there for that apprentice, because no employee is going to employ him for 5 years, train him, see him through the degree, and then want him to leave, because it wouldn't be a shot in the foot, because you're doing that huge investment in time and effort and some financial money to actually get someone to train someone else to reap the benefit. So it's absolutely in the employer's benefit for that person to stay. So it's a huge benefit all round, this new route, because it just does make people up to date and everyone. I work for Galldris now, which is, we've just launched our own proper apprenticeship program. We've always employed apprentices, but we're now getting it formalised. And as you can see, we've got the hard hat on the G and the mortarboard on the S, because we're trying to promote the sector, that it's not just all about us digging holes. We currently have 3 people on degree apprenticeships and a further 2 on HNCs, getting that level 3 ready to move in come September. And they're spread across civil engineering, site management, quantity surveying, and we've got 1 in human resources. Because obviously construction companies are absolutely massive. We employ so many people that we've got all the back office staff of all major organisations. So where do you look? Where, as advisors, as teachers, where do you point the people to look for these vacancies or opportunities? I would always suggest you do a Google search. This is the construction index, and this is the market data for the top 100 construction companies from 2020. And as you can see, Balfour, Kia, Morgan Sindall, Galliford ISG, Lang O'Rourke, all the regular ones that you see on the high street, you see in London, they're doing the big, larger projects. And I'll just give you an example of one of them. This is the Lang O'Rourke webpage, where you can go into, and that's their portal for the opportunity to apply for the professional apprenticeships. So most of the people, the tier 1 contractors on that top 100 list, would offer some kind of, I would have thought, degree apprenticeship, digital apprenticeship for the industry, degree or high level apprenticeship. So it's a question of you looking, advising the student to look, and then getting them to access the individual websites, because some will have open books where they'll just have to apply at any time during the year. Other ones would have closed, where you'd have to apply before the, say, the end of February, for the recruitment to go through, ready to start in the late summer for a September start at university. So it's just being aware of what the situation is. But don't forget the SMEs. SMEs, tier 1, tier 2 contractors are the backbone of training and apprenticeships in the construction sector. So we've already seen Ruth, but things like O'Halloran and Bryan down the bottom, K&M, Kind, these would all offer these kind of opportunities as well. Maybe not in the numbers that the big boys will, but they will all be on offer. So it's just a question of maximising the opportunities when you're giving advice out to students, to make sure that you know that it's not just the big guys, the tier 1 contractors that we all hear about. So that was a whistle stop. I think I've caught up the time that we overrun with Mike. So I'm happy to take any kind of questions, if you have any. And I'm happy for you to take yourself off mute and call them out if you want, or you can put them in the box.
Just quickly before we take any questions, as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm going to close the session here for those of you that need to leave, because I'm aware we've gone a little bit over time. But for those of you that can stay, please do. Like Dev said, he will take any questions that you may have. I will send out a recording from this session and all of the slides tomorrow. And I hope that you can join us for next week's session on Tuesday at 1 p.m, where we'll be talking about diversity within the construction industry. But I'll pass straight back over to you, David, for any questions that people may have.
Yeah, okie dokie.
There's one question in the chat box, David. How did your current apprentices find the Galldris vacancies?
Well, traditionally, 2 of them come through the organisation. They applied direct. I'm new to this. I've only been here for 3 weeks, but 2 or 3 others, they came through people who already worked here. So that's what we're trying to do for Galldris, because we're only a small, we're, like I said, a tier 2 moving into tier 1 in some jobs. So our offer is not absolutely huge, but what we're actually got is the means and the endeavour to grow bigger and employ more apprentices. So I'm currently recruiting for 5 groundworking apprentices, which is obviously at the other end, the trade apprentice, but we will then be looking possibly in September to recruit for another 1 or 2 to support possibly in the surveying fields.
Thank you for that, David. There's another question. How does the selection process for apprentices look like? Or how does the process?
Well, each individual company will have their own selection process. So I know my son went through a very rigorous selection process for his one, and I'll mention it, he was with Lang O'Rourke. And I don't know if it's changed since then, but he had to apply online. There was a phone interview. So this is where we make sure that we took any kind of silly messages, answer phone messages off his phone, so that didn't put anybody off straight away. He was then had another interview. He was then invited to an assessment day that included some team working activities and everything else. And then it was a final interview. So that was a very long drawn out period and a lot of hoops to get through, because these are in great demand. But as more and more companies are offering them, they're going to become more and more available, I think, to young people. So it's a really good thing. But each individual company would have their own selection process.
Another question is, do you advertise vacancies on the gov.doc website?
I've not advertised any. I've only been here 3 weeks, so I haven't. No, I don't think, if you look on the Gov.doc website, you very rarely see any of the degree level and higher level apprenticeships being advertised. That's because I think they expect the individual to actually be looking at the company, to identify the company, and actually to apply direct. So that's why I'm saying it's a question of getting the individual to actually do it, or as a group, to do a bit of research to find out who's offering what, and when the closing windows are, and what the process is. So it's down to, looking at the top 100 companies, or looking outside, looking at who's busy in your area and applying direct to them, I would advise.
Excellent. And another question, how do we find out which tier 2 and tier 3 companies offer apprenticeships?
Well, again, that's research. For my trade apprentices, I've just applied, I've sent them out to all the stakeholders. So I've sent them out to lots of different people, and there may even be some publicity in the local paper, hopefully, about it. But we've got a link on our website. So if you wanted to look on the Galldris website, you will see how you can apply for an apprenticeship via us. But at the minute, the only ones we've got are ground workers. We've not got any of the higher ones left. So it's really very, it's how the company wants to promote itself. A lot of the vacancies that we're going to get are going to be linked to contracts that we've got with agreements and what we call section 106 agreements, where the client has put certain things in that they have to be certain residents. So for one job we've got is in Southwark, so we're actually looking for Southwark residents for a couple of those jobs, and we've literally got to keep it to Southwark residents if we can. So it's just a question of being aware and being out there and looking and doing some research.
Excellent. And we have one final question. For the construction students who don't find a career within the industry, what would you say is the main barrier for many of those who don't find a successful career in the construction industry?
The main barrier, I think, is the main barrier to anyone who wants a job that they don't actually get the first time. And you possibly need to step back and say, why didn't I possibly get that job? Is it the way I approached the application? Is it my knowledge and skills? Clearly, if I've done everything, if you've done maths, if you're looking for a higher level apprenticeship in civil engineering, the first thing that they're going to look for is if you've got maths, a really good degree of maths, and if you've got a really, and physics would be, or science would be a good add-on. If you're going to come there with kind of the things that maybe weren't linked to maths, then they may say, well, you're not really going to get close to that because you've not really got the necessary skills and understanding to get through the course very, very easily. So it may need that you might have to look for other opportunities where you come in at a level 3 level before you move on to the level 4. So you would actually go back and maybe redo something like a BTEC in construction management, if that's the route you wanted to go down. FE colleges usually offer BTECs, and then that moves into HNCs, and then on to HNDs, which are the foundations of the degree process.
Brilliant, thank you for that, David. We have a call for your contact details. I'm sure you'd be happy for those to be shared to the attendees.
Would I? Yeah, email address only, please. Yes, at the minute. But obviously, if anyone wants to contact me personally, you can get through through the application on the website, because that comes through to me anyway. But yeah, no, at the end of the thing, I haven't got my email address written, but we can share that when the presentations go out. No problem.
Brilliant. Excellent. I believe that's all the questions that we have for you today, David. Thank you very much for your help, and I'll hand back over to Samantha.
Great, thanks so much, and thank you for presenting today. It's been absolutely wonderful. As I mentioned previously, for those of you that are still here, I will be sending out the presentation slides, and that will be tomorrow. So if you have any other questions, please do email them over, and we'll try to get them answered for you. And we will also share David's email address, and we'll share Mike's details as well with you tomorrow. So thank you so much for joining. I hope you have a great evening, and hopefully we'll see you at next week's session.